Let's talk about Overwatch.
No.
Did Overwatch need a sequel? Short answer, fuck no. The more complicated answer,
No.
I'm gonna talk a lot about Overwatch and Overwatch 2. However, I will not have any Overwatch 1 gameplay as that game is not fucking available. As you know from my other two videos that I put a decent amount of effort into, I have exquisite drawing talent, and so I will be using that to portray Overwatch 1 funny moments. First of all, let's go over why Overwatch 1 is the shittiest game to have ever crossed my mouse and keyboard ever. Shit game, bad shit, awesome. The majority of this section can be summed up by the two letters being C and another C. CC, for those who don't know, refers to crowd control, or your ability to affect, disrupt, or disable any given target. This was a huge part of the Overwatch 1 meta, as CC alone meant that a couple characters off your hero roster were practically unplayable. Of course, there is the exception being the top 1% of Overwatch players, but I'm speaking for the majority because this is a game, not a competition. Two examples of this case are Tracer and Genji. The character archetype regarding these two characters is Dive, or a character known for their commitment to getting a kill before hopping back out using whatever util they have at their disposal. With these characters specifically, you often go Jihadist Maniac mode and jump into the enemy team, get a kill, and get the fuck out. Again, this gameplay can be considered by the top 1% of players because, you know, they're actually good at the game and can play around CC, but for the majority of players, those who sucked, yeah, they couldn't do that. These characters are often high risk, high reward, as, you know, CC comes at a pretty big risk. However, you can get some easy pickings on some squishy characters if given the right scenario. I'm gonna start calling CC Flash because McCree's flashbang was single-handedly the worst thing to have ever graced God's green earth. Though there are other forms of CC, this was the most prevalent. Yeah. As I've said earlier, Genji and Tracer are examples of characters that have been used extensively in the Overwatch League because of high player ranking people being good at said characters. They have the ability to not instantly die and shit their pants every time they see a Kree, and so, you know, the high value that comes with their kit is very often taken advantage of. This is speaking for the minority. However, let's talk about something that we as a collective can hate: bunker comps. One such comp being double shield. Although getting flashed and instantly headshot by a Kree isn't all that fun, it is fun to try and, you know, play mind games with the Kree and avoid him in a sense. It's like you're playing hide and seek with the man, and you know, that can be entertaining. Double shield, however, that shit is not fucking fun, bro. Double shield has some variety to it with the DPS and support duos that can arise within said comps. And the one I'm going to be talking about right now is the pirate ship comp. Bunker was the idea of bunkering down into one position and beaming down anything that falls into your line of sight. Usually this was used on defense because bunkering down on defense is just the reasonable and logical way to go. However, this wasn't the case for payload maps. You have to move a cart in payload maps. And you know what you can do on said cart? Bunker. This usually often meant 2 shields, a bastion, and a mercy on cart. 2 shields to support the bastion and a mercy to damage boost and heal the bastion when necessary, which meant that the bastion could just sit there and shoot for however long he fucking wanted. Double shields also meant that before you even get to the mercy pocketed bastion, you had 2 shields to go against. And shooting shields is probably the least efficient way to have fun in a game where you're supposed to have fun. I speak for literally everyone who's ever played Overwatch. Double shield is the most boring thing to have ever existed in the world of gaming. Remember when Tim the Tapman used to play Overwatch? Yeah. Finally, let's talk about GOATs. The season with an average DPS playtime of 0 minutes per match. If you wanted to play the game as if you were DPS, then you had to either play a tank like you were a DPS, or play Apex. There were no role queues at this time, and yeah, now there are, so you can't do this shit no more, unless you queue open queue, and no one fucking does that. Except one person actually, and I will be talking about them later. 3 tanks, 3 supports meant that the sustain on your team went up by a lot, and the shit that was happening every team fight went down by a lot. The team fights were very long and stretched out. However, I will say that the gameplay did reward teams with in general higher mechanical skill and those with better ability usage. But again, it was fucking boring to watch. Tanks had a blast playing this meta. However, the DPS Zoomers, aka 75% of the Overwatch player base, did not like this, as no DPS meant no fun. You didn't play GOATs because it was fun. You played GOATs to win, and this Overwatch clip sums that up perfectly.
An attack that come through, split the Outlaws up, win that fight without ultimates. We do see the Outlaws are going to pull out Dante's Tracer. This has been some of the things that Outlaws fans have been waiting for, is a good Tracer player on Houston. It's Jake on the far. This combo's worked well for them before, but as soon as they see the defensive setup, they will just simply swap it away. Crucial time lost here for the Outlaws.
I'm just letting the fans give their
Blizzard devs also got a sneak peek of what the audience thought about it if it wasn't already clear enough. Overwatch is a game of resource management, and with the GOATs meta, this concept was emphasized by tenfold. Although big plays often come from skill and a little bit of luck, GOATs helped to narrow down how much luck was involved in how good a team performed. The long drawn-out fights meant that teams with higher mechanical skill and better resource management had an easier time slowly but surely overpowering the enemy team until they won the fight. All in all, although it wasn't all that fun to either play or watch, it made people rely on their skill and brain more. This is on the list because of what Blizzard decided to do in response to the GOATs meta. Blizzard, to try and counter GOATs, buffed Reaper. However, when this didn't work, they decided to implement Roll Q, which in hindsight was a great decision, but at the time it got a bunch of people real mad. And to be fair, can you blame them? The game had to forcefully make it so that you couldn't play GOATs because their inability to balance the game. Speaking of not being able to balance the heroes in the game, let's talk about the heroes in Overwatch 1. I'm not going to go over every OP hero in Overwatch 1, so I'm going to narrow it down to 3. Wrecking Ball, Baptiste, and Brigitte. The best way to describe Wrecking Ball is as a fly, because as a fly, it annoys the shit out of you, and you can't do shit about it, because every time you try to slap the fly, he flies off. Wrecking Ball rolls through your entire team, slams, and then gets away with it scot-free with his grapple. And that is how you optimally play Wrecking Ball, at every level of the game's ranked ladder. What's more fun than a rat getting to play bowling with your entire team as pins, and being able to use his grapple and adaptive shield to skedaddle away? In case double shield wasn't annoying you all that much, they decided to add this fat fuck to the game. Next case, Baptiste. And we all know why everyone fucking hates this guy, and still do, to be fair. It's because of that goddamn immortality field. This immortality field is a disc that you throw down that has a radius around it, and as long as you were in the radius and in LOS of the actual disc, you were immortal. You could not go below 20% of your maximum HP. Now take the most broken ability in the game, and then add it to double shield bunker comps, and you have yourself fun. This one ability contributed to around a lot of why I hated Overwatch 1. Lastly, Brigitte. This was the point in Overwatch where people started to not like the game, myself included. This is also the point where people kind of clued into how you had to play the game if you wanted to win. Playing Brigitte is the equivalent of being a plumber. Plumbers get paid well, however their job constantly involves shit. Playing Brig makes you feel like shit. There is no case when playing Overwatch where you don't feel like shit. So the way Brig works is she gives armor to her allies. She has armor herself. She has an ability that stuns, and her ult gives armor to everybody around her. If you don't know already, armor has 30% damage reduction, meaning that after she popped that ult, nothing was gonna die. And boy oh boy is it fun playing Overwatch and not being able to kill a healer. Usually when it comes to Overwatch, when you're playing heroes that rely on dive, you kind of go for the healer because they're the most vulnerable and they're a keystone of their team. However, when you become as unkillable as Brig is, that becomes a problem. Honorable mentions regarding this part of the video go to Sombra and Junkrat. Sombra was annoying because she was invisible and literally removed the ability to play the game. Junkrat was annoying because he required no skill to get insane amounts of value. It didn't matter what rank you were, how skilled you were, or how many days it was since you came out the womb. You were gonna be good at Junkrat. However, I played Junkrat also, so I have a bias toward him. You can call me a piece of shit if you want, but you're watching a video about Overwatch, so fuck you. Now let's talk about Overwatch 2. Jesus fucking Christ, it's been almost 10 minutes and I haven't even talked about the game yet. First, let's go over the bad. The game is unbalanced. Not nearly as unbalanced as in Overwatch 1, but still unbalanced. Sojourn, I think, is the most broken hero that they've ever come up with ever. Take Widow's sniper and attach Soldier's pulse rifle to it. Add in great mobility and an ability that zones off the enemy, and boom, you have yourself a perfect character. When it comes to Overwatch characters, there should be a positive and a negative about them, something you can take advantage of at some sort of risk. However, there is no risk with Sojourn. Sojourn is the most damage dealing, fucking nut busting, shit eating, ugly, fat, stupid motherfucker you've ever met. Her primary fire is pretty standard. It's similar to Soldier's gun, however, you're trading off hit scan for ammo, which I think is a fair trade, and her gun itself is fairly balanced. However, when it comes to her secondary fire, aka her railgun, shit gets crazy. You charge it using your primary fire shots that you hit, and it can do equivalent to the amount of damage Widow does. Let me remind you that Widow is a sniper meant to one-shot characters. See, as a sniper, you have the restrictions of being fairly stationary and easily diveable. However, with Sojourn, you have none of that. I think her ult's fairly alright, but just in general, she is very fucking broken. Please fix her, now. That's all I'm going to talk about regarding characters right now, because I'm going to be talking about a tier list that I've made up in a bit. Another thing that I'd like to talk about is the ranks, because holy shit, this ranking system is some hot garbage. 7 wins and 20 losses. What the fuck is that? I genuinely do not know why they thought that when you win 7 games you rank up, and when you lose 20 you D-rank was a good idea. What the fuck, man? I think that Valorant, as much of a shit show that game is, has a pretty darn good ranking system. A suitable number of ranks, 3 tiers within each ranking. It's not that hard, I don't think. You know how close you are to ranking up, and by proxy, how close you are to ranking down. This goes for most games with a ranked system. However, Overwatch 2 decided that it wanted to be quirky. You lose nothing and only benefit from making how close you are to ranking up and D-ranking transparent, for crying out loud. Also, fix the icons. They look like fucking trash. I don't know who designed these icons, but no. 10 times out of 10, people will say that the old icons look a lot better. Finally, logging heroes behind a battle pass, kind of dumb. You get to play the character in quick play, you can't play them in comp anyways, and I'm assuming you get the hero at the end of the season. Because boy, if you don't get the hero at the end of the season, if you didn't get to tier 55 or whatever it is, there are gonna be some major fucking problems. With that out of the way, let's talk about the good that came from Overwatch 2. 5v5 for one was a lot better than I thought. Behind closed doors, of course, I talked a lot of shit about 5v5. However, when it comes to actually playing 5v5, it's quite nice. Making each tank thicker and having one in hindsight was a really good way to actually sift out all the shitty 2-tank comps. The game being in a very brawl-heavy meta makes it a lot more fun. You actually do stuff, and you can tell that you're doing stuff because each individual hero has something to contribute to the team. Though you've always been contributing to your team, especially as a healer now, it's a lot more pronounced. Playing anyone besides Doomfist seems viable. The push game mode is a lot better than 2CP, and I feel like this is a unanimous fucking opinion. I'm glad Blizzard sucked it up and decided that, you know what, people don't like 2CP, let's not have 2CP in the game. I will miss Hanamura and Temple of Anubis for nostalgia reasons, but fuck Volskaya. Volskaya can go suck on the hairiest asshole known to mankind, for all I care. I don't know if everyone thinks the same way, but in my opinion, the game looks a lot more modern in a sense. It's a lot more HD, if you will. It just generally looks better. It's as if they kind of polished the game, if you know what I'm saying. It may not be polished, it may just be more optimized for lower end PCs, but it still looks better. Locking Kiriko in comp is probably one of the greatest things to ever come up with. It was real annoying to have to deal with dipshits who don't know how to play that character who just came out, locking them instantly in a comp match. This game is definitely an Overwatch 1.5. It's an improved version of the base game, therefore if you don't like Overwatch 1, you're not gonna like this. People often say that Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 are the same thing, and you know what? That's its greatest quality. Overwatch 1 in and of itself is awesome. The only thing that was wrong with the game per se was the balancing, and with Overwatch 2, a lot of that has been solved. While we're on the topic of balance, let's go over to this tier list that I crafted. I'm gonna briefly go over every one of these heroes and why they're there, because you know what, I don't know. Take a shot every time I say the word Brawl. Doomfist is fucking garbage. He doesn't do any damage and is nothing but a sponge of damage. The people who get any value out of him are the people who one-trick Doomfist back in Overwatch 1, and even then, his value is very minimal compared to literally everything else on this list. Junker Queen isn't a tank, man. She's basically a soft DPS. Her ult is real good, setting aside the charge time, however, nothing she does is better than, Hog's hook left click. Mercy hasn't been all that good since the Mothman in Overwatch 1, and that stays true. She can heal, but that's pretty much it. No versatile, not suited for Brawl, get that shit out of here. Bastion does the damage, but is slow, clunky, and really easy to fucking kill. His configuration cooldown makes it so that he does a lot less damage than before Bastion, not that he was any good there to begin with. Symmetra is a defense-heavy DPS, however her damage is still fairly lacking. Turrets are easy to kill off, and she herself doesn't really have much going for her besides the TP. She has a good ult, but you won't really see her in games that often. Junkrat was great when shields were a thing, and stationary defenses were popular, and was a great choice for 2 CP maps for their closed-off nature and their corridor-focused geometry. However, the fall of shields and the rise of Brawl meta has just made Junkrat a choice of the past. Mei, without her freezing on her primary fire, doesn't really do shit. Her wall and ult are still decent, but without set abilities, she has low versatility and not enough DPS to compensate for that fact, especially in a meta focused around Brawl. Earthshadow is really good for winning fights, however he needs sustain from the rest of his team as he only really does stuff in close quarter situations. This means a great reduce in his overall versatility compared to him in Overwatch 1, but when maps and comps favor him, he can absolutely dominate the field. Hammond is down here because he fills the same role on tank as he did in Overwatch 1. He disrupts the enemy team and can burn down squishies. Best part is that he has the mobility to get away scot-free. However, him doing this often leaves his team alone, and unlike before, he doesn't have a second tank to take care of the team. Brig not stunning alone makes her less of a viable choice. She's not as tanky in her ult as she now gives overhealth instead of armor, which means no more damage reduction properties. With her shield bash gone and the armor she gives to her teammates also gone, there's not much room for you to get a lot of value out of her. Pharah is in a better spot than she was before, but it's still not all that impactful of a change. She has less barriers, but hit scan can still take care of her fairly easily. Also, her ult sucks ass. It 100% of the time ends with her death, unless she's either nanoed or bubbled. Widowmaker is a sniper who can one-shot, and so of course, top tier Widows may as well be at the top of this list at number 1. However, with the inclusion of Brawl, her overall role has very much dimmed since Overwatch 1. Not properly using Widowmaker basically means that you're throwing the match, and that goes for teams that do really well against Widowmaker, say Winston, who is fairly good right now. Torb has a turret, that's really it. Kill the turret, doesn't really do much from there. His ult could be an issue every now and then, but not only can that be deflected, eaten, and blocked using shields, but he can also be killed while casting it. Hog has one-shot potential and is a tank. Says enough until you start including Ana in the conversation. Zen has a decently high damage output, and Transcendence is a fight-winning ultimate. It can negate some of the biggest ultimates in the game right now, and his Discord orb might as well be the damn most important thing on the field, because with it, and with less shields, yeah. Moira. High heal, high DPS, and her ult that does both. She's very versatile, and she's great at Brawl considering how fast she can switch between heal and damage. That being said though, she doesn't really have any cool gimmicks that make her any higher on the tier list. McCree has fallen out. Cassidy has fallen off the golden pedestal that he once was when he had a flash, but he still isn't all that bad. DPS is a bit lower than the others on this list, but that grenade does a shit ton of damage. A direct grenade and a body shot kills 200 HP targets, which in my opinion is kinda goofy. Also, I hate the name Cassidy. You know what? There's a name right there for him. Right there. Hanzo is a better Widow, and so everything good about her applies to here, except Hanzo has 5 times the survivability because of his storm arrows. Recon is a fantastic way to scout out Sombra because she's basically as oppressive as Apartheid at this moment. Reaper has definitely benefited from the reduction of shields and CC, however the survivability of tanks has sucked when it comes to playing Reaper. He's great against the right comps, but he's absolute dookie nuts in the ones that he sucks at, and quite frankly that's quite a bit of them. Orisa has received a great deal of changes which I think is for the better. In my opinion, she has the highest time to kill as she has Fortify, the equivalent of a Diva Matrix, and CC. She's fantastic at making space and taking over the field, however she isn't at the top of this list because not only is her ult fucking dog shit, her damage output isn't all that impressive. Sigma has seen a similar issue with Junker Queen in that he's fairly flimsy for a tank. However, this is offset due to his shield and his kinetic grasp. His ult is also a great tool to do a ton of damage to a large group of people or to isolate targets. Decent but doesn't excel at Brawl, and in my opinion he's the most overall decent tank. Winston is a character who is constantly in your face shoving his monkey ass up in your nostrils and won't care whether you like it or not. He's really good at dive if you pair him up with say a Genji. He also has a new ability of being a little laser cannon that he can shoot out. We all had that moment in Overwatch 1 where you were playing Winston, dive the target, and they got away on 1 HP because you couldn't fucking reach him. That would always make you want to shit and pee and cum in your fucking pants, but now it's no longer a problem. The nature of his playstyle automatically makes him a decent pick for a Brawl style meta. BAP has been lowered from an indefinite S tier to an A tier. Crazy, yeah I know, but Bunker is literally non-existent, so he has to kinda go down. Immortality Field is still the most broken ability in the game, but with again a Brawl style meta, you're not going to be able to put that down and have that thing last long. His damage output is fairly strong and is a good healer, but again is susceptible to dive on his own, and generally is very unfavored by the Brawl meta. Ana will always be a overall good pick. Her abilities Sleep and Anti alone can turn the tides of the fight. She does a lot of healing, and her nano is just as impactful as both her Sleep and Anti, if not more. However, if she misses her Sleep on a diving target, she's pretty much fucking dead. Also, her Anti is less important now because Kiriko's a thing. Ashe, in my opinion, is a more versatile Widow. She has the added benefit of continuous damage through Dynamite, and doesn't have to commit so much to her standing still because unlike Widow, she doesn't have a charge time with her shots. Which, as we know, Brawl meta, Genji, Winston, Diva, Soldier has always been the jack of all trades, and he still is.
His name is Jack.
He has a heal station, which is great for survivability, and as someone with a plain old assault rifle, he fits really well into the Brawl heavy meta that we're in right now, though his ult is pretty mid. Tracer has one of the highest skill ceilings in the game. She's good at running around and doing damage with the potential to one-clip squishies. Getting really good at pulse bomb usually means a kill every 45 seconds because that's how long it takes for that shit to get back up online. She finds herself as a great choice in the new Brawl heavy meta. The lack of CC only amplifies her usability. Finally, let's get to the cream of the crop. Diva, very good in Brawl, does good damage with the added benefit of her abilities being darn good. Her matrix has and will always be good, and her ult has the potential to either zone off an area or get a couple kills. Her survivability is pretty high up there considering how much armor she has, and she fares well against every other tank in the game, well besides one. Zarya was another character who was fairly good in Overwatch 1, but now in Overwatch 2 she's a lot better. And I'm talking a lot better. With 2 bubbles she can now use on herself, there is no reason for you not to be using them on herself. She gets charged really fucking quickly and does a shit ton of fucking damage. The cooldown for her bubble is also fairly lenient, making it so that you either have one up or one to spare pretty much all the time. With how many bubbles she'll use in a team fight, it's pretty fucking hard to kill her, especially if you aren't a Zarya yourself. Zarya is perfect for getting up in your face, and can do it without taking any damage because of, again, her bubbles. In my opinion, Zarya is by far the best tank in Overwatch 2, thus far. I still consider Diva good against Winston because Winston doesn't have the insane damage output that Zarya does, and committing to micro missiles usually means that Zarya gets a whole bunch of extra charge. Lucio, of course, is going to be a great support for brawl-heavy metas. Case in point, goats. His healing's alright, but his speed is what carries him. Sound Barrier is a great ultimate for countering ults, don't get me wrong, but his speed, being faster than the enemy team instantly makes it 20 times easier to play Brawl. Not only that, but depending on who you are and how good you are at Lucio, you may even be able to get a kill or two. Kiriko is the newest addition to Overwatch 2, and I believe that she is the best support right now. Although it may not look like it, I believe that she is the best. People still need time to get used to her and get good at her, but once that time comes, I believe that she'll be head and shoulders above literally every other support in the game right now. She does damage, she has insane mobility, and the equivalent of a Baptiste immortality field. Of course, it doesn't last as long as an immortality field, but its ability to cleanse you is damn near the most broken thing in this fucking game. Rhine Shatter? Fucking useless. Take what I said about Lucio's speed and apply it to Kiriko's ultimate, except you get more abilities. Zarya bubbles up for 24/7 and you get to throw 8 anti-nades. I think it's only like 3, but my point still stands. In my opinion, at high level competitive, Kiriko Lucio is going to be the hottest fucking support duo that you'll see. Your team is already brawling faster with Lucio speed. Now put a fucking Kiriko ult in there, you will literally run over the enemy team, no pun intended. Sojourn right now is the most oppressive force of nature in the game right now. I talked about her earlier, I'm not going to talk about her now. If you want to, yeah. Sombra has been an annoying bitch and will continue to be an annoying bitch. EMP pretty much wins you the fight no matter the circumstances. Hacking a target does a couple things. It allows you to get a kill, it allows your teammates to get a kill, or it allows your teammates to push in as a whole. No matter how you look at it, that shit is fucking busted. A hacked target who's discorded is as good as fucking dead. She has insane survivability just by her nature alone, which, yeah, is stupid, huh? I believe that she also benefits greatly from push maps because you can catch people coming back from spawn on their 15-minute walk back to the robot guy who's Usain Bolting it toward the fucking wall. Genji, in my opinion, has benefited the most in the new meta. He's a dive hero who now has nothing to stop him from dominating the field. Sombra, Winston, or Persistent Zarya can take him out, but besides that, he has free reign over the field. Nanoblade continues to be the most broken ult combo in the game, and he greatly benefits from the new DPS passive where you reload and walk faster when you kill someone. His poke has moved up the ranks and his deflect has always been a great ability. He's almost tailor-made for Brawl, and hey, I'm not complaining. Overwatch 2 is a fantastic game which has fixed many of the problems the original game had, though the release of Overwatch 2 has been far from smooth. Various bugs and server issues aside, the game is genuinely fun to play. Supports feel like they're actually now impacting the game, tanks aren't a snooze fest to play, and shooting shields is no longer a thing that you have to fucking do for 5 minutes at a time. It's free to play, nothing's stopping you from getting on and trying it for yourself. Yeah, I'm talking to you, all you Valorant dweebs. I applaud Blizzard for how well the game actually turned out, and though insignificant, I kinda feel a little bit bad about talking so much shit about a game that I haven't even played yet. Is what I would have said if I was a massive bitch. I quickly want to go over a video criticizing Overwatch 2, and I chose Donkey because he is very famous, and I am not very famous. So yeah, I'll be using that guy's video as he went so far as to call the game pathetic. Irony or not, fuck you. I'm making this.
If Overwatch 2 is a couple new maps and some heroes, but they take out Bastion and Torbjorn due to a glitch, I will be very disappointed.
Those two deserve to stay dead. No one likes those two, no one ever will like those two.
The haters have been calling this game Overwatch 1.1. I gotta say, haters, you are dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. This is more like Overwatch 0.3 because they're actually removing content.
They're not removing content, they're replacing it. Let me give you an example. If you take a shit in your pants, you're gonna take those pants off, wash your ass, and grab a new pair of pants. Now that shitty pants goes in the dumpster, where Overwatch 1 is. And the new pants, aka Overwatch 2, come on.
Already, Blizzard has removed the new Battle Royale mode. I'm already seeing dozens of players longing for the old days of Overwatch 2 where you couldn't log into the game.
I heard it was a DDoS attack. I don't know if it was a DDoS attack. I don't know if they're capping. However, that issue is irrelevant now, so, fuck you.
Immediately, you are confronted with the horrifying truth that roll queue is still in the game, except they took out the fast pass system from before because it didn't actually work.
They needed a fast pass system in Overwatch 1. They don't in Overwatch 2. Still, I don't get why they would implement something if they're going to take it out, so fair point there. However, roll queue should stay a thing. Yeah, there is not one person on God's green earth who plays Overwatch in any way seriously who thinks that roll queue was a bad move. If anything, you have the option to not play roll queue. And you do play it! Motherfucker, what the fuck do you want?
In terms of gameplay, Overwatch 2 has made extensive, sweeping changes to its classic formula, like Ryan's name has been changed to Cassidy.
The name's McCree.
Okay, I guess they changed it again.
Come on, Cole. Try a little harder.
What the fuck is his name?
They should have changed McCree to Jesse. It's not that hard. Blizzard. Change his name to Jesse. No, Cassidy, my fucking dick and ball.
One of the key design philosophies behind Overwatch 2 is that poor people aren't actually people. In order to log in, you now need to provide a phone number, and that shit better not be prepaid. You will also need to provide the address to the house that you own to play this game. If you are living at your parents' house, sorry, you can't play. If you are living in an apartment, that doesn't count. You need to have proof of ownership, and that mortgage better be paid up. You will also need to provide the license plate number for your vehicle, and I hope for your sake that it is a Mercedes-Benz or fancier.
I think they fixed that. I think. Couldn't tell you, but I think.
The biggest change of Overwatch 2 is that each team only gets one tank now. To compensate for this, tanks are much more powerful in this game, but Blizzard forgot that there is a mode called Open Queue where you can have as many tanks as you want.
My brother in Christ. No one plays Open Queue. You and around 18 other people play Open Queue. Nobody plays Open Queue.
And you can't counter them because they removed Bastion from the game due to a glitch because nobody playtested the game because nobody wants to play Overwatch 2.
Yes, they do. No one wants to play Open Queue. Prime reason because it's shit. In Overwatch 1, no one played Open Queue. Bastion was a thing in Overwatch 1. No one played Open Queue.
Sometimes when I'm playing this game, I think to myself, why? Is this even fun?
Yes.
Overwatch 2 makes great strides here by having your playable character actually tell you when you're having fun.
I'm having fun.
What's tricky about making a game like this work is balancing all the different heroes. In a perfect game, every character would feel powerful. In this game, Blizzard balances heroes by making them feel weaker or more generic.
You know, this is a fair point. Take a look at Mercy, for example. Let's see where he goes with this.
When the game first came out, Roadhog's hook was insane. That was just, if you grab somebody, dead. Today, if you grab somebody with Roadhog's hook, you die. You fucking dumbass.
This is an unironic skill issue. Take a little note from Diva.
It's a skill issue?
Yeah, man. You can still one-shot characters. You just suck.
In Overwatch 1, Mei could freeze people. That was her whole gimmick, remember? Now she just slows them down.
Yes, an absolute win. Freezing was annoying and bullshit and cringe and unfun.
In the old Overwatch, Junkrat's stupid-ass tire gets a saxophone kill. Look at the tire in Overwatch 2. What is that?
Oh no. My rip tire doesn't one-shot tanks. It's almost as if this game wasn't meant for one-shotting tanks.
Doomfist used to be crazy. If you punched a healer in Overwatch 1, they were removed from the match. In Overwatch 2, I can't even kill a fucking D-Mech Diva.
Doomfist is fucking ass. I will give you that. However, you could have killed the diva had you hit your pellets. I'm a funny man. I am aware. Sub to my channel because I'm funny.
The PvP is a piece of shit. However, we still haven't played the co-op mode because they delayed it to next year because they probably didn't even start working on it yet.
Fair point. What's taking him so goddamn long?
None of Overwatch's core issues have been addressed here.
Yes, they have. Fuck you.
5v5 ends up making the game even more steamroll heavy than the original.
Another fair point, to be fair. Fair enough. Just win your first fight, forehead.
The game still expects an unrealistic amount of teamwork from a community of players that needed roll queue to pick their characters for them.
This is objectively not true. This came as a result of GOATs, where people unanimously decided that 3 tanks, 3 healers was the way to play the game, and so they forcefully made it so that you didn't do that. They made that a thing so that we didn't work together, at least not in the way that they intended. Overall, Donkey's review, fuck you. I get that this video was probably half comical. However, Donkey's channel big, and my channel not as big. Therefore, if we put the two together, success. But yeah, if he's being serious about that video, I think he's just bad at Overwatch. And yeah, that'll be that. I really enjoy the game. I think it's a massive step up. If you don't like the game, suit yourself. And yeah, with that being said, I'll see you ugly fat babies another day.